Hey everybody, welcome back to the build. Did a whole bunch of random stuff this week, like working on the compressors and the air tank in the back, working on the floor, doing some more fabrication to get this thing ready for rat stock. We have less than a month to go, but I think that as long as things come together here in the next week or two, I think we're going to make it. So still a whole lot more to do. It's a budget build, so I tried to not spend a whole lot of money. Most of it's just been my effort building this thing. I do appreciate everybody making comments. So if you're new to the channel, take a look at the old videos. If you've been here for the majority of the build, I do appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody's comments. So I'm just gonna jump right into things that I got done this week, and then plan for going forward over the next couple of weeks. We only have 28 days left, I think. So here's the end of Saturday afternoon, early evening. You can see we've got the floor pans done on both sides. I just need to do the center console on the floor on the inside of the vehicle here. So got to do a couple panels here on both sides, a couple little things here, and little bits here and there, but the floor itself pretty much done. All I did today though was basically make razor blade factory. These things are laying all over the place, and let me tell you, I ran into one with my ankle. Oof, that was a close call. But very pleased with my Saturday work that I got done. So like I said, floor panels are in, console, and the remaining stuff will be filled in, and we're gonna keep moving forward. Well, it's Sunday afternoon and I got nothing done since yesterday, but I thought what I was gonna get done, since I just have a little bit of time, I need to put that panel adhesive down there and some seam sealer in the trunk area here. The reason I wanna do that is because I wanna get the air tank and the compressors mounted, because when I put this on the ground, it's so low I can't move it around. And as I said before, the casters on my dollies are absolutely roached and useless. So those are pretty much junk pile stuff there. So I went to the hardware store today because I needed to buy some fittings and such. I have never done an airbag setup at all, but this is the tank that came with that S10 that we took apart. So I bought a pressure valve there, some fittings and such to mount up our compressors, get this hooked up so that then we can put it back in here. And again, like I said, compressors are gonna fit nicely right in those little pockets in the fender. So if I get around to it and I have time this afternoon, I hope that I can install that stuff. Again, we're planning on hanging the tank from the package tray so it's out of the way. I'm also gonna do my battery relocation probably to there. But those are all things that need to be worked on. So what I'm gonna do right now is work on some of that tank hardware fitting stuff. So for my tank here, what I had mentioned before was I want this to hang from the bottom of the package tray in the trunk. The problem is on this tank, the little drain plug here to let your moisture out of the tank, of course it's on the bottom because everyone would imagine that this is just resting flat on the floor of whatever vehicle you're in. So I need to cut these off and put them on the top here. Don't worry, I'm not cutting into the tank. I'm gonna cut above the weld here, leave that. I might grind it smooth, and then we'll weld it up here. We're not messing with the integrity of the tank. Even if it did go bad somehow, and these little compressors here max out at 100 PSI, so it's not like I'm creating a pressure cooker bomb or anything like that. So we're gonna nip off those two things and then flip them to the other side of the tank. Well, I'm sure there are some people who may look at this and wonder what in the AF is going on here. Well, here's my super scientific method. So I took a piece of lumber and I just 45 notched it there, So my bung is suspended, and that lets me keep this level on the table. I verified that by putting my 2 brackets on there. I'm gonna accept 0.2 degrees from side to side. And then I came here with my angle finder, and I just have it resting on the top of the level there. And we're pretty much straight up and down on this side. And if you move it to the other side, it's equal. So assuming nothing moves here, and I put a little tack on all 4 corners, remeasure my angles, and if everything is good, I'm gonna burn it in there. And then, you can see what I did here is I just freshened up a little bit. We'll just hit that with some black matte spray paint. I think we'll be good to go. So let's put some tacks on there and see if this holds together. So that plan worked out pretty darn well. So I'm just gonna burn these in on these 4 brackets here, and then we're gonna go over to the car and we'll figure out how we're gonna mount it up on the package tray. That went pretty smooth. I think those look probably as good as the ones that were on there before. So that'll hold this together, I'm certain, and we'll get it back in the car. So before I get to doing anything else, I just wanted to update. I dropped this. You can see that I cracked the ceramic there, so my plasma cutter was out. Awesome tool, but I had to replace those things, so I got on Jegs, ordered them, got this package here. Just gotta say, like, that whole box, just for that. Probably could have just put that in an envelope, but anyways, at least I got the replacement parts, and now we can actually get to doing some work in the trunk to get our compressors and tank back in there. Had to celebrate a middle of the week birthday. Happy birthday, Layla. Love you. All right, well, if last week was very productive, this week I've got 0 done. It is Wednesday night at about 7 o'clock, and I'm just about to get in here. What I'm gonna do is, you can see my torture device laid out here. I'm gonna lay on my back so I can scrub off a bunch of the scale that's on the inside of the trunk, and then I'm gonna hit it with that rust encapsulator stuff, just so the inside of this is prepared. And then I can get the tank mounted and the compressors mounted in there. I'm gonna throw some of that seam sealer and the panel adhesive in there as well. So plan for right away though, scrub off all that nasty scale rust so that we can move forward. So unfortunately, I'm gonna be climbing in there. So work that's gotta be done. All right, well, I'm on the inside of the trunk here, and you can kind of see what I'm looking at as far as the scale on the, this is the package tray and the wheel wells and stuff that I'm gonna have to get off of here. I'm just gonna come in here with the wire wheel, lay on my back for about 10 minutes probably, and scrub all this off there. It's gonna be absolutely horrendous. So you can enjoy laughing at me while I'm working on this stuff. Well, that was legitimately about as sucky as I thought it would be. Got the big fan going here while I was in there. Anyways, got the Rust Encapsulator Plus. Not sponsored or anything, but it's from Eastwood. So you just got to clean the loose rust off and basically spray this over. It doesn't need to be bare metal, but basically you're just, whatever chemical magic is happening in there prevents it from turning to rust in the future. We might just hope that, you know, hey, this car is 90 years old, maybe it'll last another 90. We prevent it from, you know, rusting apart completely. So I'm gonna throw this in there. Once I got this in there, we'll do the adhesives and the seam sealer on the back of the trunk here. All right, enough of that. So while that's drying, what I'm going to do is, this is now the top of the tank, used to be the bottom. I just made this little cardboard template to match up to my holes here. Interestingly enough, what I found is when we go to the package tray here, the distance between these two things here matches up perfectly to the width of the tank. The brackets that are on the tank. So I'm just going to center this here. We're going to poke some holes through, put some bolts through, and then we'll just hang the tank from the bottom of the package tray, just like a stalactite in a cave. So I wire brush these as well. I'm going to coat this with some of that rust encapsulator as well, for no reason other than it makes me feel good. Really not contributing to the timeline of the build. But what I'm going to do first is put that on there, mark my holes, drill them, hang some bolts through, and we'll bolt the tank up for the compressors. So I just want this to serve as notice to future me. I put the bolts through the holes that I drilled in the package tray, and I'm going to put a little tack weld on there so that when I'm holding the tank from underneath, the bolts on the top are not going to wiggle around. So just so I don't forget that if I ever decide to take it out and I can't figure out why in the F I can't get the bolts out. Helps if you turn the welder on. All right, so this is that Summit two-part panel bonding stuff that I bought a while ago. I can't even remember how long ago it was that I did the trunk panels and stuff. I'm gonna put something on the screen here which tells you where to go back and look when we were building these and bead rolling the trunk. So I'm just gonna do this along the seam on the outside there. I'm gonna do the seam sealer on the bottom of the car. Not that we're gonna be driving this a lot in any inclement weather, but I'd rather have it down there. And then I think on the bottom of the floor of the trunk, I'm gonna do like roll-on bed liner or something like that in the future. So for now, you have to buy this fancy application tool when you buy the the panel bonding stuff. So some fancy kind of epoxy or whatever it is in there. So I'm gonna squirt this in here, and then after that's in, while it's drying, then we'll go get the tank and the compressors ready to go in here. Okay, for anyone who wasn't there, one of the earlier videos when I was putting these trunk panels in, the reason that we had to use the panel adhesive back here was because of so much fiberglass. The entire trunk, the floor of the car was all fiberglass, so I had to cut that out. I was able to put some tack welds along this where there's actually metal, and then when it transited to fiberglass, there was nothing that I could do to weld that stuff together. So when I put this panel adhesive in there, it looks pretty good when you after you smooth it out with your finger and whatever, it was bad looking anyways. But clearly the reason why we can't have nice stuff around here is I made a mess of this. For some reason, this seems like a two-part epoxy. The one that's in the smaller tube here was just gooing out the back of it, and it made a huge mess. And then of course, when I was trying to work with the rest of it, it got all over everything. So that made a mess of things. So what we're going to work on now is the compressor and some fittings there, so we can jam that stuff in here and get things mounted. Okay, so coming over to this disaster area of a workbench, I've got my compressors and my tank set up here, and I kind of did a dry fit so I can see where I want things. On this T, I've got my pressure gauge for the tank. I've also got my valve here, so if I want a quick fill from the compressor in the shop, I can do that while it's in the car. Then on this tee, I've got the pressure sensor that controls the compressors. Then I've got the line that goes to my control module that'll be up front by the dash, so that we can, inflate, deflate the bags, manage the pressure there. And then these lines here, the reason I'm gonna do this stuff on the back bench here is because these, I need to, when I'm tightening them, they don't spin inside of the line, so I need to mount it into the compressor and the tank, and I think that would be a pain in the rear end while it's in the car. So I'm going to do that all back here, and then I'll cart the whole mess of it back over there to the trunk of the car and mount everything up. Well, I think that worked out pretty slick. So we got our tank hanging there from the package tray. Got our compressors tucked into the fenders here, and I think they look pretty good back there. They're out of the way, couldn't use that space anyways, so we will mount those down. Obviously got to do wiring and plumbing and stuff like that for the airlines, but I got the controller up front so I can plug in the airlines that are just hanging from the airbags, and then we can put it on the ground, make sure all the connections still work, and we can raise and lower as planned. So little step at a time. It's getting kind of late tonight, so I might be winding this one up. I'm just going to clean up in the shop here a little bit and get back after it another day. Well, I got the shop cleaned up, and then I figured I'm just gonna mess around, make that rat's nest do something. And it's later than I want to admit, but we're gonna have air. So that's a small win, and I'm signing off for tonight. Well, here we are a couple days later, and it's just crazy trying to keep track of days, and I'm not sure really when the last time was that I got the compressor hooked up, but I was digging through an old box and I found a handle that actually happened to fit perfect. So that's super exciting. Trunk lifts, latches, and everything. So here's the inside of the trunk, and I think it looks pretty good. Got the compressors fully mounted. I got to clean up a little bit of wiring, obviously, until I get my console set up. That's just temporary, but compressors are in, tanks in, that looks great. So in regard to the trunk latch here, like I said, I found a box of stuff. Our latch works great, just needs to be secured to the trunk lid there. But let me take you over to the workbench here. I was digging through some stuff. I have 2 buckets that are great, but I only had 1 ring. I happen to have Model A headlights, but those are ever so slightly larger. So I'm gonna have to probably modify one of these to fit the other headlight bucket. I had one of these that mounts the tail light. So this is the passenger side. I found on eBay one of these. The license plate holder is broken, but whatever, it gave me a discount on this. I ended up having a couple tail light buckets. Everything on the inside's totally spent. I mean, they're like roached on the inside. I got my front bumpers. For some reason, one has chrome, one looks like it was buried in a swamp. I was talking to Build It Brad, another guy who has a 37. That's awesome and just gorgeous. And these are headlight stanchions for the front fenders. I thought I was going to have to buy them on eBay, but I found in the same box that had the trunk latch, had those. Spent some money at Summit and got some headers. So I also got the universal like hot rod pipes set for the headers so I can build an exhaust system. So with my pile of junk here, oh yeah, I got 2 glove box lids. That's whatever, you know, got an extra spare. Got a neat looking rear view mirror, but I don't see anything in the car that actually matches the same pattern. So I'm not sure where that actually goes on a Master Deluxe. And then these things here, they're pretty cool. I guess they were turn signals, or were they reading lights on the interior of the car? Anybody knows, let me know. So lots of stuff there. So, you know, eventually we'll get it put in here at some point. But again, late at night, so I'm signing off. Just wanted to do a quick update for today. Well, I kind of beat up on Jegs with their packaging. I got this, got the universal hot rod exhaust thing from Summit, and this is the package. That's the way it was left outside my garage, so I don't know if everything's in there or not, but I sure hope it is. Well, Friday afternoon update. I did a bunch of work that really wasn't all that interesting, but needed to be done, like getting my B-pillars fixed up here. I put in these little panels here on the front and back. I also kind of did a little cap on the bottom here to fully attach the B-pillar to our sills here. I put a panel like this on both sides. I got my little patch there. So there's lots of little holes that needed to be filled. It's just a lot of cutting metal, bead rolling, welding, all that kind of stuff. Not that interesting. I left a little pocket here for access for my body mount bolt. I think I'll put a little panel and just secure that with some screws. But the floor is entirely done. So that's gonna kind of do it for the floor. Now we gotta do the brakes and steering and then plug that harness back in. So kind of going to leave this video probably ending here. So a lot of the fabrication for the floor should be entirely done. I've got a couple little patches to do here and there, kind of like that little one. But, you know, again, fully welded the B-pillars in on both sides, put a little cap on the bottom there. I don't know if I focus on that. So everything's finalized as far as the floor. Got the compressor in the back, or compressors, and the tank hanging there. I'm gonna make a seat for the back. I'm just gonna use the S10 seats for the front. Got the shifter mounted there. Need to do brake pedal and steering column somewhere in here. So that's gonna be the next video, I think, is really getting around to that stuff. So that's where it stands for right now. I think it looks pretty darn good for, you know, home-built floor job. For me, you know, I learned as I went. It was kind of an adventure, but I think it looks pretty sweet. I think it's going to be pretty solid. Definitely better than the fiberglass that was in there before. So any comments, I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody coming back and watching the videos. Do the old thumbs up thing. Like the video, share it, comment. And if you're going to Rat Stock, I will see you there.